find that. That's hysterical.
Dude, my browser lagged so hard.
We
I
left
love-
the lo-fi music on.
I
Come on,
clicked,
man.
I clicked the
That clashed so bad.
I clicked the button, and then it was just like my mouse just decided not to work anymore. And then I went to start broadcast, and it just didn't work at first. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna get the spiel over from our conversation prior, right?
I was gonna say, way to cut me off.
Imagine Cat's just like
You just
making
went rogue.
Cat's just making like anti-Semitic remarks.
Oh my god.
That was you. Let's not get
hey! I'm just projecting here, okay? That's all. Anyway, we are back.
With cereal.
Yeah, I'm eating. Oh, well, I got a crown in my mouth.
cereal
so
stream.
I'm just eating on the left side of my mouth, but I got cinnamon. Wait, no, I got honey bunches of oats. Cat's got,
Something man-made.
and then Zach's got
The
Tricks.
our sponsor. Our sponsor of today, Tricks.
Tricks.
And they're just like, dude, wrong box. Like, oh shit, hold on.
If like
Wrong day.
Sponsored us though, that'd be like the coolest thing ever.
Honestly, Tricks, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, if you're watching this, help us out.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to be the sponsor of a podcast about evil Ewoks and a bunch of people eating cereal? I mean, I can't imagine a better podcast, to be honest with you.
Y'all are serious about your show. Y'all guys remembered. Charlie was in the pregame chat with his Cinnamon Toast Crunch at the ready. I was like, I didn't even remember. Zach needed to remind me.
And I remember you specifically last week telling us not to forget. Like, you were like, you better
Okay.
not forget.
I really thought we were doing this on Thursday, but honestly, this is coming in clutch because I need something to get me woken up to power through the next 2 hours. So, how long do we think this episode's going to be?
3 hours.
Eternity.
I'll buy it.
Probably like 46, 47.
I'm not going to lie. I was really hoping that Star Wars was going to pull like a surprise. Both episodes of the finale will be streaming tonight on Disney Plus. Like all day, I was kind of waiting for
Or
it.
they're like, surprise, there actually is no episode 11 or 12. 10 was the finale.
We canceled the show, guys.
Surprise, there is no 11 and 12. It's just episode 10. And yeah.
Oh, I would no.
That would be, that would be funny. I mean, I can't get over the fact that I'm still seeing mixed opinions about the show, right? I still don't quite understand how like that's even possible after the past 10 episodes. People are still going to be like, I'm going to go make a cup of tea. Wevan, please do.
I saw Den of Nerds getting like lit up on Reddit because on the Star Wars subreddit, because someone was like, he said something, I don't remember what his tweet was, but he was basically like, do people actually like Andor, or do they just like arguing about it? And like he was just getting like annihilated for that take.
Yeah, he did tweet that, and he genuinely, I don't think thought people actually were enjoying the show, and I think he finally just kind of, because he stopped watching it. I could be wrong. I think he maybe watched the latest few episodes and still just isn't really enjoying it, which I'm trying to see eye to eye, because like right now I can't imagine how anyone is not liking the show. I think it's freaking glorious, but I guess I can be just as in the right or wrong as someone who says I can't imagine how anyone could like that. I don't know. Nobody's right or wrong, I guess. It's all a matter of opinion. So I'm trying to just see eye to eye. I don't know.
The top comment I saw on Reddit in opposition to his viewpoint was like just accusing him of like, he tends to just like big CGI battles and like action, and he doesn't care about story. That's what a lot of people were saying, which would make sense because that's not Andor. That is like not what Andor is at all.
Yeah, he did say he was bored with it.
But he
But he's not
also,
alone.
I was watching that stream when they were talking about it. He also only said he watched 3 episodes or 4 episodes and didn't
Okay.
watch the rest, and then made his opinion based off of that. But there was some graph I saw where it showed Andor being like number 4 or 5, like right next to Rings of Power and
House of Dragon?
like, I don't remember what the graph was. I don't remember the exact metrics, but it showed Andor was actually up there. In terms of um,
You sound weird. Is that just me?
Speak, Alex.
You sound like you're talking out of a cup.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good now.
Now you sound better.
I love Charlie's
You
comment.
sound like you sound like you're talking while you're mixing cereal. I don't know if you're mixing cereal.
I got some news for you, man.
What was Charlie's comment? This one?
Yes. I stay away from the monster that is Twitter. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I'm the opposite, Charlie. I can't keep myself away from Twitter. It's become my obsession.
Yeah, I have a Twitter just for the sake of doing things like this and going through it.
Memes.
Wait. I
You
think
should
was it
change
this,
your name to Elon
was it
Musk,
this tweet?
Alex.
I know I should, and I should pay $8 for a verification badge.
Yeah, this is one of his latest tweets regarding learning that people actually like Andor.
It's getting better. I mean, it seems like everyone in the comment section, as well as like on the stream, a lot of people were saying, like it's an L take, Josh. That's an L take, whatever. Like, you don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about all that over and over and over again. And I'm like, damn, dude, he's just getting lit up with anything
Well-
he says. Anything he said, everyone was pissed off at him. I'm like, it's very interesting.
I do admire that about his fan base because they respect him. I mean, some of them will just troll, but like some of them genuinely will like say, I understand your opinion, but I think you're wrong. Like, I like I don't know. They have an interesting dynamic. Like, they're not afraid to disagree with him, I guess, versus just blindly following, like some fans probably do with other creators or whatnot. Like, they would never want to disagree. Like, I think that's a good relationship with your fans. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, like if you see comments like this, they're like, how is this low? That show has a better average than your grades, dog.
Damn.
92% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
like the best rated Disney Plus Star Wars show right now?
No, Tales of the Jedi I think is at 100 right now.
As it should be. That's good.
But I mean, obviously, a lot of that is just forced. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure people liked it before they even watched it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a cowboy romp and shoot 'em up like Mando, but it's well written and acted thriller. There's no reason to not like it or at least appreciate it for being better than the other poorly written Disney Star Wars we have been subjected to. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the main argument, right? It's an incredibly well written show. And whether you make the argument that it feels like Star Wars or not, it really doesn't matter. The fact that you can acknowledge that it's something different in the Star Wars universe is all that really matters because we need something new.
Look, like if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. Like I don't care about that. I just don't like the fact that he's insinuating that like no one likes it and like it shouldn't be liked. Like that's where I draw the line. Like if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But don't try to like force your negative viewpoint of it onto others.
The problem with it is like he goes back and forth and contradicts himself a lot with that. Like he'll be like, "Hey, I mean, if you like it, that's great, but also you shouldn't like it because you're an idiot," right? Not in those exact words, but he comes across that way, and he kind of brings off the facade like, "Oh, we're all Star Wars fans, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't." But then he proceeds to say, I don't understand what y'all are smoking by wanting to watch this. It's like so now you're like adding fuel to the fire and saying that their subjective opinion is different than yours. And I just think that that's not cool, man. Right? So
he's become the very thing he swore to destroy.
Also, where can I find this, Wevin? The Jacob's Quest posted with Josh.
Yeah, I actually was just watching that clip. Just search Jacob's Quest.
Is it on Twitter? On Twitter?
Yeah, I was literally watching it 2 seconds before we went live.
What is Jacob's Quest?
I've never actually heard of them.
Quest,
I think it's just another.
What?
There it is.
your
That's the
quest?
exact
Okay.
one. That's the clip.
How
I
do
just
I
want to preface by
sound?
saying I don't think what they're saying is heinous in
Okay.
any way. I don't think so at all, and I kind of feel bad that people are lighting them up for it, but you can play
Yeah,
it and see what you think.
people are looking for something to light them up because they have the biggest platform for Star
Well,
Wars.
yeah,
Right?
and I've noticed more frequently on Twitter people really using Star Wars series names specifically for clout because inherently inevitably if you tweet anything about Star Wars theory, it gets attention. It gets likes and people so many people just dislike him.
Yeah, he
Are
does
just
get a
like
lot of hate, you know.
yeah.
And some of it is, you know, coming from an area where it's like, okay, dude, you could have probably avoided this by just not doing that. And actually, you know, treating it like a business and not just like your own personal backyard to kind of let whatever happen, right? But I mean, at 3 million subs, you would assume that you would have some kind of um, demeanor and how you handle everything, but it's whatever. Anyway, so let's see what this is.
This is what Star Wars needs to be. Andor is everything Star Wars needs to be. This is the best Star Wars we've had. What the fuck are you guys smoking?
Oh, that's where that came from. Okay.
That's exactly what you just said.
That's literally what I just said. Yeah.
That is
I
what you
was
just
seeing that
said.
comment all over the place. I mean,
Which I will say I do take offense to that a little bit. I know you say things when you're in the heat of talking and you don't necessarily mean them sometimes, but I don't think we have to go that far.
As someone who like went to school for storytelling, that's like that like really irritates me. Because what you're saying is like he's what that tells me is that he has no clue how to like tell a story and like what good storytelling is. That really because Andor is like you can call it boring, you can call it slow, whatever. Like you cannot say it's not good storytelling. Like they're telling a well-crafted story with great characters, and if the pacing's not for you, it's not for you. But like I just don't think you can argue it's not a good story.
yeah. And what's really irritating about, I guess every time I've noticed he's with whenever he's with Josh, he kind of just goes with whatever Josh says, right? Like the episode prior, he watched it and he's like, dude, this is like a 9 out of 10 episode. This is like going in the right direction. I love this. And then he comes on here and says the show sucks, right? So I don't really understand kind of what his motive is, or whether he just doesn't realize what he says, or he just does this and whatever comes out of his mouth comes out of his mouth. He doesn't actually think about it, which is also another fair point, I guess. But it's just a really weird take, right?
This is the best Star Wars we've had. What the fuck are you guys smoking?
Dude, right?
What?
Like, what? I don't know, man. Like it feels like to me it's like one of those situations where it's like, are the sum of all the parts equal to the whole? Because there's a lot of stuff that's like individually mad decent in Andor, right? Like the
Sure.
acting, the set pieces, you know, some of
Yeah.
the sound design, you know, the performances I think are really good. The people are handing in a really good performance. But it's all put together in such a way that I just think is so completely boring. Like
What?
I can't blame him for that. I know Josh is not alone in that stance. Like a lot of people have vocalized that they can't get past first 2 episodes like that because they are bored, which I do empathize with that. I don't fault him for feeling
mean,
that way.
For like casual, like, you know, viewers and like he runs a channel that's dedicated to like movies and television around this fandom, right? So I think if there's going to be someone who wants to advocate for a good story and good acting and everything, he would look past just a surface level critique of film, right? Like that's such a surface level like critique. Like it just doesn't compute with like he says like everything that makes a good story, but then he says it's boring, but then contradicts himself by saying, oh, but this part was really great, but then the show just sucks. And it's just he just goes back and forth a lot. And then Theory just kind of piggybacks off of him, which I mean, I again, like I can't fault them for their opinions. It's fine. It's all good and dandy that they don't like it, but it's just the constant contradictions where one moment Theory just is like in love with the show. He thinks it's great when he's by himself. And the moment he gets on Den of Nerds, or is with Josh, and Josh kind of says a bunch of things around actual, you know, storytelling thoughts and critique the moment he says anything related to something that a film student would say. Star Wars Theory just immediately was like, yeah, I guess, and then he just kind of builds off of it, right? He doesn't really kind of formulate his own opinions when he's with them. At least that's what I've noticed.
I mean, like, I'm kind of like, I get it. I get where he's coming from. I get where they're coming from and like not liking it, because from what I've seen with Star Wars Theory, he's very much a like, I grew up with these Star Wars movies. I grew up with like these things. Like, these are Star Wars to me. This is what Star Wars feels like to me. Anything that isn't that, I don't like. And he's been pretty consistent with that, I think, especially in recent years. I remember you were saying something about how he flip-flopped on the sequels, Alex, but recently it seems like he's been in that boat. So I can understand why he wouldn't like Andor. I just don't like when like the "what the hell are you guys smoking" line, like that. Like, you shouldn't be judging people for liking something that you don't like. Like, that's where I draw the line.
And it's all good and dandy at the end of the day. You know, they can say whatever the fuck they want, but it's just like they give off this guise like they're open and willing to let anyone voice their opinion and have their views on it. And we're just here as Star Wars fans, you know, because that comment proves no, you think you're the prime and main authority on all of Star Wars, and you're surprised that someone else has a different opinion than you. Therefore, what are you smoking, right? That's just that's just how it comes across, and it's just not necessarily like the best way, I think, to handle a debate, right? Just by completely calling out someone else's viewpoint and what they like. I think if you provide some rational thought into what it is that maybe you think they're smoking, like what are they really smoking, right? But I don't know.
A sick ass show.
Yeah, they're smoking honey bunches of oats over here while on our cereal
Oh my
stream.
god.
Anyway,
I will say
don't
though,
understand.
go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say I don't want this to sound like I'm defending Theory, like kissing his ass or anything, but I am kind of the same when it comes to I'll watch an episode. For example, I think I'm similar kind of pattern with The Last Jedi. When I first watched it, I was like, that was really effing good. Like, I felt completely differently after the initial viewing, versus how I feel now, which I haven't been too vocal about because I try to restrain myself. But I
You do restrain yourself
relate
quite a bit.
I relate to him a lot in that regard, that my initial high coming off of things definitely gets diminished, and I can be I do get contradictory. Like, I'll look at the way I review things and then watch it back after the passage of time and realize like that was very diluted by like how just excited I was, you know, like for that's happening to me with Kenobi. I feel like that's happening with the whole fandom with Kenobi. Like, now that
Yeah.
the initial high has passed, we're all kind of, the clouds are clearing, like we can see more clearly now, and we're like,
What have I done?
I mean, but was there ever a high though? Like we really liked a couple
There
moments.
there absolutely was. We
There
were like,
was.
we were saying like, oh, this was like amazing, even though it could have been better. Now it's just like, I don't think the show was very good at all. Like,
Did we
there-
ever say it was amazing?
yes.
Oh my god, do you not
Go-
remember the finale stream? Like, we came on here and we were all like so riled up.
Well, yeah, the finale was great. Like there were parts of it that we needed to see. That was
Yeah.
that like there were sections that we even went back to. Like it would have just been better if we had more of that. We were saying consistently, like this was great because of this scene. If we didn't have this scene, it would have been absolutely, horrid. It's still on the whole is extremely disappointing, right? But the scene that we did get like curved our appetites slightly, right? And
I think
that's
we were
sad
more
that-
positive than that. I think it was like, I love this, even though it's extremely flawed. And now I would say I don't love it. Like, I do not love that show. I think that it's disappointing overall. I don't hate it. There are parts of it I like, but I definitely feel more negative about it than I did at the time of airing. And I think everybody here did as well. Even you were more negative now than you were then, for sure. Like, I don't even think it's up for debate. Like, go watch the stream.
I think Alex
I
might be
think-
right though. He was
I think-
always a little like,
Yeah,
He
I
was
think
the
I
most negative of all of us. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I was very adamant about what I really liked, and that I felt really good about getting something in like the realm of finally we get to see what we were hoping to see or something along those lines. But we did always have that inkling of like,
Yeah.
wow, this feels so cheap, dude.
You kept things in
What the
check the whole
fuck?
time.
Yeah. Well, I was from the get go. I was like, dude, they're having trailer music. They're having Duel of Fates in the trailer. We're never gonna hear it.
Throwback
never
to
gonna
when
hear it,
you
guys.
were
What the
riding
hell's
on
up
my
with that?
parade, and I was like, "Don't you dare tell me we're not gonna hear this in the show!" And you were like, "Just believe me, like this is total bait." And you ended up being right. Like, yeah, no, you had your guard up the whole time, like for sure. Zach and I think definitely there were times where we were like, "We don't care, we love it," but like the stars are clearing up now, and it's like. And I feel like this is a trend with the Marvel fandom. Like, I feel like everybody loved Moon Knight when it was happening, and everyone was like, "This is amazing." And then time passed after that, and people shit on that show now. Like,
I
feel
found
like
the ending to be its downfall.
It's like how it is with
Yeah.
every Marvel show. It's like it gets worse as it goes on. Every single one. It's the same thing. I hope Andor avoids that. I really do.
I hope.
Oh,
I think it will. I
there's
feel
no way these next two. Okay, I will take shots if the last two episodes just completely contradict everything that the
Oh,
show's been building
God.
up to.
Darth Vader shows up.
But anyway, Nick, sorry to answer your question. This is like a conversation as a whole. So far, like all of them. Even though Josh hasn't seen all of them, they're having a conversation about the show as a whole and how the fandom's reacting, as well as why he's upset that the fans are kind of disagreeing with almost every take he has about Andor. So that's kind of what we're talking about now, and it is very questionable if you're going episode by episode. I made the argument earlier that Theory on the stream before said that episode that he just saw was 9 out of 10, and this was amazing for Star Wars, and then immediately hopping on the stream with Josh and saying that it's crazy and we don't know what we are talking about or what we're smoking, etc. That's all. While instead of spilling the tea, we're just eating cereal. In case you guys didn't pick that up.
Serial stream.
Stand where some people say like this is like on the level of House of the Dragon, or this is like crazy good television, the best that Star Wars has ever been. Like, I legitimately don't see it. And
what do you guys think about that take?
I do agree. I think
I can agree with that one. That one makes sense.
I don't think you can compare the two.
It's like HBO and Disney are on such different planes, so it's like such a weird comparison for me.
I think that if there's a Star Wars show that's close to that level, though, it's Andor. Like,
yeah.
But I agree, it's not on House of the Dragons level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some fans are just kind of, this is the best we've ever had for Star Wars, so it kind of just feels like, oh my god, like this can compete with real other TV. But
yeah, that's just being maybe
different
too
arenas still.
Yeah,
but again,
maybe just too optimistic.
Yeah,
I think I said this like a few weeks ago. I don't know if I was talking about Andor, but with House of the Dragon, the events that are covered in that show are like the big events of that world, and Andor is about like a smaller story with the character who's not the main character of Star Wars, who's not driving the main events of the galaxy. You know what I mean? Like it's two different scales in story. So Andor is going to feel inherently, lower risk, like lower stakes than House of the Dragon. And as good as it is, I think it's really impressive.
And I think it's been very high stakes. Like, that's a really good point, Zach. Like, we're operating on not the most grand like order of events that are going to be like, catastrophic or have huge impact necessarily, like in the grand canon of Star Wars. But I feel like they still have managed to make, I feel freaking invested. Like, even in these characters who only have 3 episode arcs, like someone like Kino Loy, like, ow.
Character.
We need to get a soundbite.
We should just have like a compilation of every time that's ever happened on stream.
We should, but
that would be a funny little thing. But yeah, no, Kat, I agree 100%, and I think it's like obviously not quite there, but if like Zach said, if any show did come close, this is definitely the one to kind of be a showcase for what Star Wars could be. and the direction that it could head. I don't know if the exact Game of Thrones formula would work in Star Wars. I guess that remains to be seen.
They're
but
different. And I will say, I think Andor could survive successfully on a platform like HBO, but it's still just so drastically different from House of the Dragon. Like, just like there's plenty of other shows on HBO that aren't like House of the Dragon amazingness, you know, but it could still, of all the Disney Plus shows, I think it could easily still survive. And that's why I'm curious to see how it is going to perform on cable and realistically how many more eyes it's going to garner from that.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
At least 12 eyes.
Yeah, at least 12. Yeah, no, and that was the interesting topic. We were talking about that earlier. Like, what was the purpose of them doing that? Obviously, to probably garner more attention, because I think they realize that they do have a great show on their hands. They're just kind of experiencing fallout from maybe the audience distaste and what they have been putting out, right? So they want to try to maybe gather a new audience or a wider audience and cast them in to show them, hey, look, we're actually going to move forward with better projects, right? So come check this out. If you like it, then that's our indicator of where we should go moving forward. If none of you watch it, if you all hate it, then I guess we need to go back to just Journeys of Mando for the next 10 years, right? So,
oh god.
At risk of sounding hypocritical, I just want to make it clear to everybody who loved Kenobi. I'm so glad you did. We are all very glad you did. We just found it a little disappointing, and that's it. We don't want to pull a theory in Josh and say, "What are you guys smoking?"
I still look back on it fondly, though. Like, there are
Yeah.
things in Kenobi that Andor can't give me. Like, I'm not gonna ugly cry, maybe over Andor, but like, there's nostalgia. There's other things. I get
Mhm.
satisfied in a different way with Kenobi versus Andor. It's just a totally different palette. So, you know,
Yeah,
it is.
100%.
That's what it is.
It's like I just want to be an advocate for the best possible story and the best polished product as possible. And if I realize that something isn't as good as it could be, I'm gonna criticize it and I'm gonna want it to be better. You know, and if I just sit here and say, "Oh, it's good enough," like that's just not who I am, right? And at the end of the day, we want things to be as good as it can be. And HBO is a prime example of that. If you want a prime example, what HBO did with House of the Dragon is they had all sorts of different showrunners, all sorts of different projects running at the same time, and the best one won. And this team was the one that won their little competition for what they do moving forward. And they tested this show with one season. They didn't confirm a second season. They wanted to see how the first couple episodes did first. And they did phenomenal, and the whole season did great, you know? So they really did their due diligence, and they vetted everyone that they could to make sure that they provided the best product to the paying audience of HBO, right? They weren't just getting stuff to have stuff on the platform. And I think that's kind of essential.
In spite of Game of Thrones being at a low point before it came out, like, you could compare it to like what The Mandalorian did for Star Wars. Like, both properties were at a complete low point, and House of the Dragon showed up and made me care about Game of Thrones again. Like, you remember, Alex, like, when we would talk about it, I'd be like, I don't care about this show. Like, I don't want to watch it. Like, season 8 was so bad. Like,
oh my god, I do remember that, and I was like, "Come on, you'll come
I told Zach, I was like, dude, did you see the first episode? He's like, I might get into it. I'm like, no, dude, like, you have to see it. Like, the first episode already was like, okay, they're taking this seriously.
Cut a baby out of a woman. You have to watch this.
We saw heads getting exploded. We saw all sorts of cool, just like, you know, in the golden age of the realm being at peace, a lot of uneasy knights were just like, I need to fuck something up, right? And they all just kill each other. It was sick.
Yeah, that is a sign though that like a franchise is redeemable. Like, I've seen the Game of Thrones, like the reaction from House of the Dragon, and I feel like it has managed to draw in like new fans as well, like people who didn't initially even watch Game of Thrones. Granted, it's also a prequel series, so I guess it's easier to do that, but it was overwhelmingly, it felt like unanimously appreciated by casual fans, like I guess myself. So I didn't read the books, but I loved it. People who read the books seemed to love it. Like, it was, you're so right, both you guys. Like, it managed to do all that after like with a jaded audience. Like, the fan base was pretty unanimously heated about the way things left off with Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. So like
Yeah.
it does give me hope. I feel like we have yet, other than say like Clone Wars finale and here Tales of the Jedi, I feel like none of the live action shows for Disney Plus Star Wars at least just yet have had that same unanimous feeling. And I don't know if it's because the Star Wars fandom is inherently different from the Game of Thrones one and that we just fight no matter what. Like we are always at coming for each other's jugular, but
I don't think we've gotten anything close to the quality though. Like I agree that might be like I guess maybe the fandom wouldn't know like a piece of gold if it hit them in the face, but at least in totality. But I don't think we've gotten anything comparable to House of the Dragon yet. And like Andor is the closest, and we love it, but not everybody does. So
yeah.
Here's my take. Here's my take really quick. So think about this. So streaming in general is still very relatively new, right? And I think a lot of studios are just scrambling over winning that streaming war, right? And so they're kind of putting quantity over quality, most of them, I would say. And there's a lot of projects that are just being tested, right? They're kind of testing the formats, trying to figure out what they can do to keep people on the platform the longest. And I think, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think eventually they're going to figure this shit out. And there's going to be really high quality, beautiful products on whatever streaming service either ends up winning or just all of them in general, because it doesn't really matter like how it kind of performs in a way, because they already have the money backed from like the subscribers, right? So if you think about it, they're putting things out just to have stuff. Like when you in traditional media and television, you release something, you have those like commercial breaks. In theaters, you have box office, like all of that. This is just streaming, right? This is just subscribers. People already paid to be there, and yes, they want to get new subscribers. But if you think about it, it's really just kind of going to be the evolution of what is the best for stream, right? So I just think that it's going to take some time, but eventually like each product is going to be pretty similar, if not extremely competitive with another. Right now HBO's winning, but it's going to get there. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I my biggest concern with Andor, and this is basically like the main point of my latest video, is that I hope that the flavor, the style of Andor is not lost because it hasn't been successful with the ratings. I hope that that Lucasfilm doesn't look at this and think, well, that didn't work, and then never does anything like this again, because I think that there's room for this kind of project in Star Wars. You don't have to have it all be like Mandalorian or Boba Fett or Kenobi. Like you can have complex storytelling like this, and it will work. I think you could attribute the lack of ratings to maybe it just being about Andor, and people don't really know who he is as much as people know who Kenobi is. I'm just really concerned that they're going to wash their hands of this style after the show because it didn't blow up.
I didn't even think about that.
But I mean, when you think about it, while everyone else is like, trashing, or I guess the people who trash stuff are trashing like, oh, they're so desperate, they're posting it all over ABC or FX or whatever. I think, like, from my perspective, it's a good sign, because they might realize that they have something good, and they want to prove to, I guess, their investors or to Bob or whoever it is they need to report to greenlight maybe another season, or to greenlight the style, or to make sure that writing is like or character focus is like the main pivot, and not just all about action and sabers and whatever, to really allocate the proper funds to create what they did with Andor, right? And I think this is kind of going to be their test to whoever is the higher up from Lucasfilm to Disney, right? To hopefully take this step in the right direction, because I'm sure that everyone at the studio agrees, or everyone that's been working on these projects agrees, that Andor is kind of the direction they should be going. I would doubt for a second they're like, no, we need to do it more like Kenobi, right? I really don't think that they're going to look at it that way.
Do you think if, say, this was, I guess let's take the what we think unanimously is the worst Star Wars show, probably Book of Boba Fett. Do you think that if this were Boba Fett, would they have done that for Boba Fett? Or do you think, because I think you might be onto something there with the quality of it being inspiring to this move, but if this were Boba Fett, which I think I think if you pulled the whole Star Wars fandom, I think that would probably be the lowest rated show. Do you think they stick that on FX if the ratings weren't as good?
Yeah,
How
do
did
you think
Boba Fett rank?
I think it did
forget.
well. I think it did well. But
Yeah.
if
among
it hadn't,
general audiences and people who I guess really don't give a shit, they just want to sit down and watch something relatively entertaining, it did well, right? And I don't think it did as well as Andor has been though, in terms of ratings, not in terms of viewers. So I think
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah,
viewers,
yeah.
the viewership that they really grabbed in, and they're like, "Oh, we're fine. You know, we don't have to worry about Star Wars dying. We're good." And then when they see that something they probably sunk more money into, maybe not performing where they would want it to, uh, they were probably like, "Okay, so we got to pull the plug on this." And maybe there were advocates like, "Hey, look, no, there's a reason why this is the way it is, and there's probably arguments or whatever. I don't know what goes on in the marketing department or the media department or any of these budget meetings or whatever it is that has to greenlight these types of projects. But there's definitely something that forced this. And I guess to your point, if it is really just based off of a specific situation that's maybe forcing them into this kind of corner to try this, if they would do it for Boba Fett, I don't know if they would. I think they were still in like the testing phase. I think they were still kind of testing the waters to see what would happen, and if it wasn't a success, they'd be like, it was a side character that didn't have a whole lot of screen time. That's probably why we don't really care, right? Whereas now with Andor, they're like, he's a side character, kind of like Boba Fett, but he's lesser known, and there's not an older demographic to kind of loyally watch it. So let's just throw a shit ton of money at it and get the writers of Rogue One, where he handled that character in the first place, to hopefully create a compelling story, because we don't really know what else to do right now, because Kenobi from the audience wasn't received very well, right? So I don't know. They're definitely in shambles. They're trying to figure out what to do, but I think it's a good sign that it's going to go on mainstream television for a week. But maybe it's not. We'll see.
I agree. I'm confused as to why they're only doing the first 2 episodes, or if they're planning on airing eventually the whole series in its entirety via cable. I don't see why they wouldn't, unless, oh, here's the first 2 episodes. If you want to watch the rest, you got to subscribe to Disney Plus. I liked it from the idea that it's kind of eliminating the exclusivity of streaming that not everyone can maybe afford or wants to, subscribe, because there's just too many freaking streaming platforms and networks these days. So I saw it as a positive from that position. Like, yeah, like get eyes on it from people who don't have the benefit of having Disney Plus. I am confused though about the choice of the networks and the channels that they're going on, because they're doing FX,
ABC,
and
one other.
TBS.
they're
Yeah.
all Disney affiliated, I think, right?
Oh, that would make sense. I was gonna say they're very different, and I don't know if necessarily like did you say TBS or ABC? ABC?
What's their slogan? Very funny. Always funny.
Oh, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
I was like,
But I wouldn't say like I consider that to be like a family channel. I don't know. So I don't know if this show is the first 2 episodes especially are gonna appeal to like a family with kids to be like, oh, they're airing this Star Wars show. Let's watch it. Like, I imagine kids would be bored out of their skull watching the first 2 episodes of Andor. So I guess that answers my question though, Zach. I was like, why these channels? But that explains it if they're Disney owned / affiliated. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're still not doing themselves a service if they don't show episode 3. Like, we've all said this, at least I know I've said this on repeat. I would not have been as pleased with the show out of the gate if they didn't drop the 3 episodes at the same time, because we really needed that third one to come full circle and be like, okay, this is actually really effing good, and it paid off and we're excited. Without that, like, my initial opinion of the show out of the gate would have been far worse. Like, honestly, like, not that it wasn't good from the start, but compared to just what we are programmed and used to as Star Wars fans,
We lost something. Not to worry, we're still flying 2/3 of a ship.
play the Cat and Zach show theme.
All right, I got you.
So
oh,
he's back.
shit.
I come in right when that plays. I don't know what happened. I just got kicked, and then like I had to like reset something.
Cat was immediately just like play the intro.
Anyway, sorry.
I wanted to ask you guys. I saw this take the other day, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense. But could it be the reason that Andor just feels so, more put together, like it has so much composure, it's so well done, is that the executives viewed it as like such a small, like unimportant show that they didn't want to like tinker with it, whereas like Kenobi, it felt like there was a lot of perhaps studio interference and a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and same thing with Boba Fett. Do you think that's possible? Because I could see that. I could see that. Like they kind of left Andor to its own devices.
Perhaps, but it still feels like it has an extensive team. Am I wrong? They have a lot of pros who were involved in like major projects, obviously, like Tony Gilroy and the Bourne series and whatnot. But you might be right. I also have that's also something that's perplexed me. It feels like an entirely new team of creators and showrunners compared to the usuals in the club who've done, Mando and Book of Boba, like the people we know, the players that have already been involved. Like everyone on Andor feels like new to the game to Disney for Disney Star Wars. So I
That is
don't
an
know.
interesting take. Yeah. I mean, I think anyone's guess is as good as mine at
No,
this point.
Alex, tell
knows?
us what happened. Tell us behind. I want to know all the
Who
behind
knows
the
what's going on over there?
Yeah, I can't disclose. I'm too in there with
sign an
Lucasfilm.
NDA.
Yeah, I can't say anything. Tony Gilroy was actually here earlier, and we were talking about stuff.
Oh, you're
for
hanging
a
out?
while. Yeah.
I will say, when Kenobi was around the time Kenobi was releasing, it felt like Kathleen Kennedy was very prevalent around the media with that show. Like she was in a lot of interviews. She was like spending time with Ewan and Hayden and blah blah blah. And we haven't really seen her with Andor. Like at least I haven't. So that could be indicative of like executive interference as well with Kenobi in terms of rather than Andor. But oh yeah, we were reacting to this.
Yeah, we didn't finish this. I just realized.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just play it through, and then we'll talk after to avoid keep having to go back and forth.
I don't know, man. It kind of seems like from this other thing with them like putting it out on television or whatever. Like
We haven't talked about that. People don't know. About
yeah, yeah, but it feels like Lucasfilm is maybe aghast and confused because they're very confident in this thing. I mean, they're doing 2 seasons right away without seeing how this one performed. And now like well into it with 2 left, they're probably like, damn, like this is really just not hitting for us. Like what's going on there?
Our business guy.
Yeah.
He's a creative genius.
Yep.
I mean, the guy created Star Wars. Like, imagine that from scratch.
Yeah.
All the characters, all the everything.
Yeah.
It's like Lord of the Rings kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or Harry Potter. I mean, I think if Lucasfilm wants to go forwards and create more shows, I think it would be really beneficial if they created a General Grievous show. I think that would do absolutely amazing. They could make it animated if they wanted to, but I think even live action would hit. They would-
Honestly, even Grievous in sort of like the style of Andor being like just more gritty and really like focusing on his like career
Yes.
and like what brought him to that. Like I
Yes.
could absolutely see that. There's like a built-in draw to that. I think so.
absolutely, yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's so much of a cool backstory as Grievous and how he was this.
That's what people were dogging on them for. Like people thinking like, is this satire? Like I don't think that is egregious
I
at all
agree.
to say. Like people were just roasting them about
I'm
that.
with you, Kat. I would like to see a General Grievous origin story.
Right? Like they're
that's
not wrong.
My problem with Grievous is that he's just so one-dimensional, and it's like, why does he hate the Jedi? We don't know. He just does. Would they do it? I don't think so, because Grievous is not human, and Lucasfilm, for whatever reason, does not like doing aliens lately. Like it's just like everybody in that prison in Andor was human, which is kind of weird to me. You'd think that the Empire the kind of racist empire would have a bunch of like aliens in prison.
Yeah.
So
True. Because they're speciesist.
yeah,
They don't like anything other than humanity. But what's up, Tech with Todd? Yeah, dude. Plaque right there. Good times. Fun,
you
fun.
can't see mine, but it's off screen.
He has the 10 million plaque that's invisible.
Yeah.
It's actually a
It's
thing.
new technology.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 20, we've had 70, we've had 100, we've had it all over. It kind of depends, but at the end of the day, we're just here to talk Star Wars and dog on people who maybe are a little removed from reality sometimes, sometimes people need to get checked up on their
Like ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, like we forget what we say most of the time too, and we're just like, holy shit, did I say that? I am so sorry, right? But we take responsibility for what we say, and we take ownership over what we say, right? Especially Zach.
Yeah. But like
Surprised they had black people.
Nicholas is
Jake-
joking, but like
JK.
on like so here's my take on this. A lot of like what fantasy likes to do is they tend to use different races, like fantastical races, as like an allegory or a metaphor for like racism in the real world, right? Like
Yeah,
orcs
it's a
have
little
been
easier.
yeah, like it's kind of screwed up, but orcs have been used to like
Yeah.
stand in for black people a lot in fantasy. It's fucked up. But I'm surprised that with like Disney Star Wars being so kind of political with their I mean they did have an agenda in the sequels. Like I'm surprised that they're not doing more with alien species and like showing like I don't know, like highlighting the racism of it all, like the racism of the Empire. Because in Legends, the Empire was like downright racist, and they did segregate the living hell out of alien species, and that's why so many aliens were in the rebellion. I guess they just don't want to spend the money on costumes or prosthetics.
I mean, I can forgive the budget issue because, I mean, with what happened with Kenobi, there's no excuse for how that looked. But the fact that Andor looks so great, the fact that there isn't a ton of aliens everywhere isn't like my biggest worry. I just need good storytelling, beautiful cinematography, and just great characters and great acting, right? And we're getting that. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I hate everything about it because we don't get that. Only it would just be better if they did, obviously. But
Yeah,
This is gonna sound terrible. I mean, they obviously organized the prisoners and sent them off. Like they physically assessed them and deemed them, all right, you're going to Narkina to make parts or whatever. Like you're deemed good for labor. I think that's what they told Cassian. Like, do you think they separate the aliens and send them to like even worse
I mean, but that's
facilities?
it's like that's just a way to.
I mean, that's just my brain trying to justify
It's
why
also
aren't
an
there
excuse,
aliens?
right? Like that could be something
Yeah.
they're like, oh shit, we didn't do that. Well, actually, what really happens is we
Like
separate
an afterthought.
we separate the non-humans from the other ones because they go do the what do they do? Yeah, they do that thing. So that's all planned. We all pre-thought that out.
We thought of that at the
It wasn't a budget problem at all. We didn't. It's not that we couldn't get approval to do it. It was all in our heads the entire time. So I assure you, that was our plan all along.
Because I was gonna say, like on Ferrix, they did a good job of acknowledging like there's lots of aliens and different creatures on Ferrix, but that seemed to have been the extent of it.
They had a couple that I can remember, but it's like for me, Star Wars has always been like there's a ton of aliens like all over the place. Like the prequels and the originals, I understand those are movies, but it's just is that a big like negative for the show for me? No, it's not. Like it's a little gripe I have, and I just wish that they had more aliens. I wish that they had given some more speaking roles to aliens. Like one of my examples was at Mon Mothma's dinner party. You see like an alien or two in the background in full costume and whatever. So why not get, and then they have like generic human senators like talking to her with like a line or two. It's like, why not just make one of them an alien, like a Twi'lek or a.
Could they just all be speciesist?
Maybe the creators of the show are just speciesist.
Yeah, they're just like, why do we need different species? That's fucking weird. Like, we're not even making a Star Wars show. We're making. Oh wait, we are making a Star Wars show. Oh shit, I
up.
didn't even think about that. Right?
40.
I know we had such a good convo.
It's up right now.
It's up.
Well, dang.
Alrighty. Yeah, I actually I have to be up early, so I'll be watching and then headed to bed. But as always, thanks Kat, thanks Zach, and then for the crew that stuck around this beautiful
For all 5 of you.
Tuesday evening, we do it for you guys. And Todd, welcome.
Yes.
We are live on Tuesdays, and Tuesdays today, and then Tuesday next week, and then we won't be. But normally, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have our podcast. You can look at our repertoire of podcasts. We've had all sorts of different Star Wars creators on, as well as non-Star Wars creators. We've had Transmute Pictures on, who did Bucketheads. I mean, we have all sorts of cool people on.
That's so fun.
And we will have more people on the moment we don't have a show. I'll be hitting up some more people to have nice discussions with. But I mean, we have them here. I just know that the moment we Star Wars Theory goes on, they probably all go watch him, which is fair. He has the biggest audience out there for a Star
It's
Wars.
all right.
But
Our fans are loyal. Our
yeah,
friends are
Thanks,
loyal.
Todd.
we have our favorites.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for. I'm glad you think our stream is quality. I appreciate.
I think the real thing with you, Todd, is we appreciate the click through, right? Like you saw it, you clicked it, and you took a chance on us, and we will be forever
We're gonna
indebted
scare
to you.
him off. All right, he's just
We-
subbed. He's gonna be
No,
like,
Todd, don't leave us, Todd.
No. Yeah, no, Todd. Like when, like it depends, really. Like
we already lost a Discord user
Please,
today.
God.
he just shadow bans like so he can never find us on any profile he ever creates.
He
Again.
reports us and we lose our channels. Like,
And
these guys are crazy.
Wevin, Nick, Charlie, whoever else was in here and had to go. Thank you so much.
We love you
Thank you,
guys.
all of you guys. We will see you on Thursday, 6 p.m. PST. You better be there. Also, join our Discord, Todd and everyone else in here if you guys haven't already. We will be posting links.
I don't think so. I think I'm gonna.
Okay.
If Alex isn't gonna join me at the end, I think I'm just gonna run.
So we're all gonna peace out.
Okay.
All right. Well, love you all. Thanks for
Sweet.
joining the serial stream.
Enjoy the episode, everybody.
Thanks, guys. We'll be live on Thursday. See you all there.
Woohoo!
See you, everybody.